challenge. We'll see you in just 10 or so seconds. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to APAC North. FNATIC versus FAV is our first game of today. And, well, FNATIC would have loved to be in Japan themselves to play against FAV. Unfortunately, that is not yet the case. Hap and Fluke opening up the desk for today. Excited to have you both on here because there is still some things to break down. Let's talk about our two teams and what there is in store for us. First of all, FAV Gaming, a team that just cannot break the top, always middle of the pack, qualifying to events but then unable to follow up. Will this finally be the season? After the first Playday might be a bit tougher.
Yeah, they are now in a situation where obviously they were sort of put to bed quite promptly by what is, for a lot of people, the toughest team in this league. FAV, they're stepping into a situation now where they might be able to make some ground up. They were kind of on the back foot before. They were struggling, obviously, against a very explosive team in their rivals. But here, it's a different story. Here is them trying to toe-to-toe against FNATIC, which we saw playing quite a heavy and a slow game last week. It's potentially going to give them a little bit more breathing room as FAV to be able to step into this game, and for them, hopefully, start to step into some points.
And on the opposite end, it's FNATIC. Again, Hap, as you said, unfortunately, they're not in Japan yet, but they can still perform very well with their changes.
Well, yes, look at Tex. A 1.81 rating, 19 on 10 KD. The man went absolutely nuclear throughout the previous match, and you saw some clutches coming down from Alphama. Lusty had some great plays. Just unfortunately, Mag and Stakes were lacking off the board. They weren't able to get the impact quite there yet. And thus, I think if those two are going to be having a little bit of a better day today, FNATIC should be in a good form, should be in a form where they have the opportunity to win, especially if Tex goes nuclear again.
Got to be a very important one for FNATIC because they don't want to start slipping like they did last year in 2020 in both stages. So you got to start off as best as you can if you want to be in those top four spaces. Hap, let's see which two players you picked. One of each one of these two teams. I'll kind of compare, contrast their stats, their roles, and such. And here it is, Tex and Afro. Can you please elaborate on these choices?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at, obviously, Tex, who had a massive game last week, as dictated by the stats and the numbers. You're looking at two players that love to get into the opposing team. Obviously, Afro has consistently kind of stepped into that role of the Ash Jaeger. You have other players on FAV that can adapt to this positioning, but in this sort of game where it's going to be down to how the round starts, I think that's going to really severely dictate how things are able to keep the rhythm of the game and keep the pace of it. It's gonna, I think, boil down to who gets into this more, because Tex, historically against FAV, hasn't really been able to get anything out of them.
Now I'm going to be checking that as we speak to see what the previous result was, but it's kind of funny to see actually Afro on the Ash Jaeger but not having a single entry to go with. Was Tex playing that Maverick, managing to get 4. And I'm just quickly checking the previous time they played. Tex there, 0.52 rating, whereas Afro also 0.927. So both were actually bottom of the board the last time they played each other, and now top of the board in the previous game they played. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not history will repeat itself, or if we're going to be seeing the current form continue for both these players.
Well, since we have a bit more time, I think it's a good moment for us to talk about ancillaries, I guess, to the two players that you selected today for the head-to-head. Who else is fitting what role that is important for FNATIC and for FAV in this game? Because you can talk about the top players, but there's a lot that's happening around that we don't always get to see when we're observing things, unfortunately. So,
I mean, on the side of FNATIC, you have to look towards what Alphama bought last week. Obviously, they're in a situation where Menta's still unable to play for them currently due to location issues, to put it very lightly. You're looking at a roster that we don't really know what they wanted as their shape coming into this. We don't know who they wanted to play from the 6-man roster in the 5, but it falls down to what the new player can bring. And it falls down to, especially what a support player can bring. We saw at least 2 clutches from the new French addition to the roster last week, playing that smoke role, playing that dug-in role of trying to hold on to things like blue and the extensions around there. And I think to have someone come in on their debut and have a bit of a calm head and a cool head in what was, as I said before, quite a, it was a lot of shields, a lot of extensions, a lot of heft towards the defense on the side of FNATIC. It was a good sign, I think, for Alfama last week, and I'm excited to see if that grows this week.
I have to agree there. Alfama really showing up, showing confidence as well. Like the amount of swings that he pulled off in Freezer, just, knowing exactly where they are, knowing he's going to be winning the gunfight, shows his worth to the team. And if you're looking at FAV, you should be looking at number 2. It's a player that Des always hypes up, but he didn't really have the impact last week around. He's shouting woo right now in our ears, but he didn't really have the impact. And he has to get a live hit today if they want to put their team into a little bit of a better position. If FAV wants to be able to beat FNATIC, because if Tax is going well again, if Lusty and Alfama are on a roll, then it's going to be a very tough game, I think, for FAV.
And of course, keep in mind that the Japanese teams also have their own national tournament, the Japan League, to kind of go through, perform in, and we'll talk about that later on today, by the way. But all of that might give them a bit more time and a bit more experience to mesh together that FNATIC don't have currently, unfortunately. Let's see which map we're going to be playing on again in this best of 1 series. Overtime rule is active. A reminder for everybody, the lobby is pretty much ready, so we'll toss in the next few minutes. 7 map pool, 1 is left for us to play on, and Fab will have the final word. They'll ban Clubhouse and take us to Cafe Dostoevsky, where they are starting off on defense. OT rule reminder, you lose in the regular time or regulation time, you get 0 points. You win in regulation time, you get 3. You go to overtime, you guarantee yourself 1 point. And if you win in OT, you at least get those 2 points in total. Not too shabby. That's what happened to FNATIC last week with only 1 point that they could have gotten in OT after their loss. Yeah. Is this the right decision, though, for Fav to go to Cafe?
I mean, the club and Cafe, they were the 2 maps that Fav have taken from FNATIC on record. They had a choice between one of the places that they won 7-5 on or the other place that they won 7-5 on. It's, for them, a pretty good situation. I understand the bans that came through from FNATIC. Fav took the 2 games, sorry. I understand the 2 bans that came through from FNATIC. They, and they probably don't want to go back to Oregon yet. They were looking at the choice of, well, do we try and retake club from them and, come back from the loss we had before, or do we try and take Cafe? The fact that it's gone to Cafe, I think, we're going to see potentially it's going to be a bit of a tough game for FNATIC, but they wanted to choose one of the 2 maps that they lost on before. Now's a chance to see how much they've grown.
Then Hap, my question to you is,
yes,
that was a while ago. Can you still rely as Fav on FNATIC's performance back in the day with their roster changes, with their physical move, and Ping pretty much being half the Japan for these 2 maps? What do you think?
No, not so much in your enemy, but you can on your own performance, right? So Fav is thinking about their own, what map they feel confident at. And as you just saw right there, they also get the choice of going to defense. So probably FNATIC chose to start attack. Now, Cafe on defense is a fun game, I have to say. It's often revolving around making your opponent as uncomfortable as possible. Think about, for example, the piano. It's normally the first take that would happen. Open up all the walls, create these long angles, let them be clueless, right? Stall out as much time as possible and give them as little space to walk around as freely as they can. And suddenly you find yourselves in the last 20 seconds with a team trying to go for an execute with literally no information because they have been struggling. So if Fav managed to nail that first half, if they managed to make FNATIC uncomfortable, then they should have a smooth sailing.
So what you're saying is a Rooney Castle Shields bulletproof cams, all of that is
I'll bring the mirror if it's in. Bring the mirror. Just get those lines aside. Make like all the punch holes. Play piano from all the way from the back of freezer, from that half wall over there. That's the kind of strategies I like to see. The same goes for the freezer. We've seen very good things coming down right there on the bottom floor, like an opening where you have to prone through or crouch through, but you cannot jump over, so you're slowed down if you're trying to rotate out, and then the player in VIP has a bit of extra time to try and take that control. So there's a lot that can be done right there, and I'm hoping that we will see that from FAV.
All right, Luke, thanks so much for your intel on game number 1, FNATIC versus FAV. Maybe something to look forward to in the future once these two teams are actually in Japan, specifically for FNATIC in this case. But it's time for us to toss it to our casters. We're ready to go to Moscow for a quick sip of tea at Cafe Dostoevsky. Jess and Des, just at you. All yours.
Thank you very much, Milos. And you say a quick sip of tea. We've seen with overtime being introduced, a few teams step into it. So maybe this turns out into more a full-on afternoon tea session. It becomes a multi-hour affair where you can't get them away from the table. Who knows? One thing's for sure, this game is squaring up to be a spicy one. FAV stomped over by CAG last week. FNATIC showing a few signs of uncertainty in the team. So both teams, as Fluke alluded to earlier on, are now looking to prove themselves. This is the time to do it. Let's get into it.
This is going to be a spicy matchup because you asked me before, who do you think is going to take it? Is it going to be a FNATIC stomp? Is it going to be a FAV game? And I literally said to you, I said, I really don't know. I think it's going to depend on the map. I actually think this map favors FAV over FNATIC. So it's an interesting one overall. Maybe FNATIC, and when I say maybe, absolutely FNATIC will have been practicing this one in scrims. It's one of the ones they don't play very often in official matches, but you can guarantee that they've probably been playing it in their private time, and especially they don't have Mentalist in at the moment. And he's one that usually does quite well on this map, so I'm not sure. Maybe they got a new flavor to it.
Yeah, we were talking about this as the band started rolling through with the map bans, and we said this is a map that is joint top band away against FNATIC. That and Consulate teams refuse to play them on. So we're going to find out today, I guess, why. We have seen them play it before, as you alluded to, but I think here with the freshness that's coming with the new meta, with it being a much more attacker-leaning game these days, it's interesting to see what's changed out. And with the first two bans coming out, the Capital and the Nomad, Capital having a little bit of a resurgence, it feels. We've seen it employed in EU on maps like Consulate a couple of times, and even here, it's drawing a ban.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to take away from that. I just do think that as teams are starting to realize that they can just use a Capital bolt to rid someone inside of corner of piano, or they want to get rid of pixel spot, or even just in sort of back parts of cocktail, you could just use one of these Capital bolts. It's so damn easy. You don't have to go through all of these magnets. Well, you can go through the magnets rather, but not through the ADSs, not through anything else, and try to cook them for the grenades. Get rid of it. Use a Capital. It's easier. So if you get it off the board, that's going to be a little bit of safety for you on the defense. However, I'm looking at those bans compared to the last time they went head-to-head on this map. They're completely different. And we did talk about how there might be a mirror in play. I know you're out there, Hap, somewhere. Watch this game. A mirror might be used because I know FNATIC like to use it. And it's one of the top defending operators that when not banned was used back in last season. So maybe they'll start to bring it. But no, not at the moment. No mirror in play, so we get to see a Warden instead. That's a spicy pick. I like it.
I like it because of what we're seeing lined up on the other side here. 4 smokes coming out between the Ace and the Gridlock. That's just acknowledgement of if they're playing for smoke plants that a lot of teams are doing nowadays, both in Europe and in APAC. It serves as a good counter. I believe we saw Saves playing it on Na'Vi just a couple of days ago, but in his shoes, well, last night actually, in his shoes, I think the way, no, it wasn't. It was 2 days ago. Honestly, days of the week at this point, all scrambled together. He did bring it along, but didn't really get a chance to use it as he was one of the first ones dead in the round. But we spoke about Warden being one of these niche operators. It's never going to be a mainstay in a lineup, but when it gets brought along, you always know it's for a specific purpose. And when Ying was a thing, also very popular at that time as well.
He also has a deployable shield. I mean, I hate to simplify it that much, but sometimes you need a deployable shield or you need the shotgun and you just go, yeah, okay, I'm just going to bring Warden, no problems. Stig's sitting on the Warden as a whole. That's going to be a mid piano next to Sofa there. He's going to make sure that he gets that mini bar angle and then he'll have bullet holes towards that rappel. Oftentimes people will challenge it from down in garage. He says bullet holes will work. Instead of that pixel shield, it looks like that second shield will go over towards the red drop. That's quite an aggressive one that a lot of teams are playing, but most will play it with a castle. No castle on the board here, however, so if Alphama plays that spot, he needs to be very careful.
I do always wonder when we see a Warden brought along for a purpose like this, if, you know, why wouldn't you bring a Frost? And it just screams to me that he wants to really lock himself in Piano and say, you want to come for me? Flashes ain't going to help you. Smokes ain't going to help you. I'm ready to take any challenger that comes in, only helped out more by those shields. We'll see exactly how effective that can prove to be. Tex equally looking to cause a bit of trouble, I think, looking towards the window, hoping for a jump out maybe. There would be one unlucky Typon hanging nearby, and here we go. The run out comes through. The shots do come back, but Tex wins those, unfortunately. Typon falls down, and Sophia removed. And now with both a Jaeger and a Wamai on board, this is going to be a bit of a headache, I think, for FAV to get rid of this utility, such as the shields and anything else set up towards Pixel.
Are we surprised that someone like Tex, who absolutely dropped a bomb on the game last Playday, and they didn't even manage to win that matchup, is not able to sort of, you know, defend himself against the Typhoon as he jumps out, takes the free kill? I think that that's a beautiful first pick. They're very aware of it, and Shin's dropped all the way down to red to counter it. I don't think that was the move, and they would have been better off just getting on the roof and working out an alternative entrance. Instead, they're all looking around for cams because guess what? No IQ. It's one of the lowest pick flex operators in all of APAC for last season as well. And that means most teams just have to drone them out and look for them. And that's not a very good way to deal with those Valkyrie cams. So that's why as they're outside, they're scared of so many jump outs because guess what? Tex could come flying out of any one of them at any moment.
Well, they're in the jump out region here, Jess. It's often the aggression that we see in places like APAC is, I remember a couple of times you saw, not so much scrim clips, but there are a couple of clips from players like Mag on Twitter of a scrim on Clubhouse when 4 or 5 players are jumping out of windows. It's sheer madness. And the players love that kind of aggression. So completely on board with your point. I think here FAV are struggling a little bit because they're out of options. They've got no frag grenades left. They've got no Zofia. They've got one breaching round rest. They've got to make it work. But Alfama with a shotgun at the top of white brings down 2. A moment of panic comes out, and for FAV in this round, the only thing to be found is Tex by number 2, but it's a 4 versus 2. Not really much to be found for them, I think, with only 15 seconds on the clock. FNATIC have stalled them out. That jump out really put a dent in their wings, and this round's going to fall by the wayside. A good, aggressive, extended defense coming out from FNATIC leaves FAV with no option but to lose the first round.
One of the really important points that I need to bring up in that round is that they'd found the one counter to that mid couch spot where the shield was there for the Warden, but they didn't execute it properly. They needed someone to throw in a drone, get an accurate yellow ping, go in below in mining, toss up a well-cooked grenade, and that entire position would have been displaced very, very quickly. Then they had the jump out from Tex. I think it was just a domino effect, really. Once they hadn't really worked out with the first grenade, then the jump out happened. Then I'm sure comms got a little bit mixed up. I worry for FAV because that actually wasn't a difficult strategy to displace quickly. And especially with a couple of jump outs, they should have known someone was in bakery to start off with. It's a common place to put a pre-placed drone to make sure no one runs out. I got a few questions about that attack, but even more so, Alfama gifted 2 kills on White Stairs. What is that? It's just freebie city here for FNATIC.
Yeah, I think it gave them a bit of a headache to the stage that they're now sat in the spot saying, you know what, I think with that roam of Tex that really put a dent in our wings once Typon was gone with all that utility still in back pocket, we need a Jackal on side. They still managed to retain the flashes, of course, the gridlock. Useful if you're inside the map, not really too helpful against jump outs, admittedly. So here it's more about dealing with the roam game of Tex, trying to clear out this top 4 a little bit quicker and getting their way moving forwards. A sensible change. We'll see if they're able to make use of it before they get themselves caught out on the entry.
I'm glad Mag is going to retain that Valkyrie. It was actually very helpful, even though we didn't really get to see a lot of the results of that. It just generally comes as part of having that little bit of extra intel. You might not see someone, but you can definitely hear them. You can be a little bit more rest assured that your back is being covered by your support player watching it. So I'm glad they're keeping it. They're getting rid of the Warden, however, and Tex says, all right, you take the Jaeger Lusty. I need to take over towards the Wamai, and then we're going to hold Pixel so that we can do a top floor hold over towards the reading side. They've extended this top 4 hold out exponentially, however. This is not often for teams. Generally, they'll just hold cocktail. So to see them go all the way over to Piano with vertical holds, with shields, and with magnets, that's very hectic. FAV rushing up white. Is this going to be a quick fireplace plant?
They might be thinking about it. I mean, the information game for FNATIC, you're relying largely on the Valkyrie here to give you indication that this is going on. I'm not entirely sure what the full game plan is here, but they know that someone is sat in utility at the top of the halfway stairs. There's also someone actually sat on stairs. It is Alfama, shock horror, with a shotgun in hand. Here comes the rush, and the Ash just completely runs past him. Your teammate just died in front of your eyes, and you have no idea where from. They have no control of White. They're trying to swing in windows, but Stiggs is on the door. Alfama's back round for a triple kill. This is another round that has fallen to tatters. Where was the drone play on White Stairs to know that Alfama was sat so close?
What was that? I mean, I hate to giggle, but I think to myself, that was one of the most poorly executed half rushes that I've seen in a very, very long time, which is a shame because I'd love to say some positive things about FAV here over the past 2 rounds. And mind you, I do have to say statistically, over the past Playday or so, APAC has gone incredibly defensive-sided. We have not seen an APAC that doesn't attack. And since the last Playday, I think 30% of attacks even went the attacker's way. So it's really surprising to me that the APAC that we know is usually very strong on attack is not anymore. So maybe FAV is just boosting those stats exponentially, whether on purpose or not, who knows? But that was not strong. That was not the play. You don't send a concussion halfway up White and go, all right, boys, it's clear, because it certainly was not.
I really want to know, I didn't catch, did you catch who was on the rappel? Was it K-Razor? Who went in? I assume it was because he was going in for the smoke plant. Of course he was. Yeah, he was running through the smokes and then repelled in to try and go for a plant. I get it. Normally you would expect your support to be the one on the drones, but there was no one joining those two rushing up White Stairs. You know, normally we always speak about, oh, there's an Ash. There's always going to be drones at her feet leading her in. Where was it in that case? It just didn't exist. They rushed around a corner straight into a shotgun with zero awareness of what was going on. It's yet another dominant round from FNATIC in which they just crush the setup coming out of FAV before they can even get into the map. This happened last week for FAV when they came up against CAG, and it's starting to feel very reminiscent of day one. Some issues here that FAV really need to get worked out fast, Jess.
A lot of people are wondering whether or not the Alfama pickup here for FNATIC has worked out. And, well, I mean, he's doing pretty damn well on this support. I mean, last week, multiple clutches flying through Trophy on Oregon and just zooming through bodies left, right, and center. He is the king of White Stairs here on Cafe. And for me personally, I sort of think to myself, well, actually, he hasn't really been pressured this game at all, really. Let's be honest. He's been sitting in really key positions where shotguns are going to reign supreme 9 times out of 10. He won't have the shotgun to really fall back on unless your name is Sir Boss and you know how to use the ITA like no one's ever used it before. He's going to be on the mirror, but the Vector can shred just as well as the SMG-11 can, and he will have no problems with it. But looking at the current strategy set up for them, Des, their extensions have been insane across this map. I wonder whether or not the mirror will do a top floor hold as well, and they'll extend upwards the same way they extended outwards and upwards last round. They've got one between sides here. I like it. I'm wondering how they're going to keep that from getting popped from bar. We'll see whether or not that's going to be held by another defender, or they'll pop one over towards Freezer as well, where Alfama is currently reinforcing. And with that popped hatch, makes me think they will be extending up. Otherwise, no way you pop it.
I mean, just seeing the replay come out, you put it a lot more professionally than I would have. I was going to say this is by no means offense to Alfama at all, but when you've got players running at you and barely challenging you, you could probably stick a gold player on those stairs with a shotgun and they'd pick up 2 kills in that case. Yes. I think I could have got those shotgun kills, Jess. What I wouldn't have got is the 3rd kill he got with the SMG, because I'd have been looking at the ceiling and not at the player with that SMG. Cannot control that recoil to save my life. So fair play to Alfama. Right time, right place, right weapon in hand. Has done lots of work for FNATIC, even if FAV have given it to him on a silver platter in these rounds. Let's see if they can get anything, because my worry here is if this round now goes the way of FNATIC, we go back to another 3-site rotation. Top floor, reading, kitchen again. This could be a 6-0 half for FNATIC unless FAV adapt. And from what I've seen in the last couple of rounds, that adaptation hasn't been used to its strengths at all.
We do see a couple of those drones zooming around, and that was our big criticism for the past 2 rounds, is where is your intel? Don't just enter the building, don't just run up a set of stairs. That's not going to work for you. Make sure you find out where your opponents are. K-Razor, he's going to be the one droning in for Afro. Afro says, get me in. I want to get in bottom round. Maybe I'll go up and start challenging for the verticals. There's 2 players who are actually in a really prime position to deal with Tex, who's sitting back pillars, but they need a drone and they need to push cohesively. Otherwise, Tex, I guarantee you, wins these fights.
Yeah, you know my little metric for this map, Jess. A minute and a half in, you should have a sledge or a buck doing work inside a fireplace and trains, starting to open the floor up so you can think about the execute. But you still got a player or two holding out in these extended locations. It was Tex on the Legion holding upstairs a second ago. You still got Stigs near the main entrance here, kind of dealing with what I call the phantom pressure, where the door's been opened up by FNATIC, by a FAV, sorry. You're not sure if someone's there or not, so you're always mindful of, if someone's there, we could be in trouble here. They aren't going for this full top floor clear just yet, because you've still got Tex, who could play a massive spoiler in this case. If they're not drawing him out, or are they choosing to ignore him, I'm not entirely sure, but he could play a massive spoiler in this round.
Oh, that was a really good read by Afro there. He says surely they're going to start rotating down, and rotate down they do. Only connect one for the trouble, and it wasn't even a kill. Those bullets did end up missing, and as a result, FNATIC kind of got gifted 2 kills as a result. I can see what they're trying to do here, Des. They want that freezer control because they have VIP control. They want to use their ACOGs and long lines of sight over towards the lines of sight already opened up by FNATIC. But I'm telling you what, boys, you don't have vertical control. It's not enough, and FNATIC, you've given them all enough time to rotate. Looking back at you, 30 seconds left. That's not enough time.
Oh no, they haven't even cleared the site yet, and there's a player hanging around in coffee. They were constantly checking the hatch in case they've lost control of that, and they're going to lose pretty much every gunfight, sorry, on the charge in. 4 versus 1. Where have we been here before? Oh yeah, the last 2 rounds. This is yet again another super dominant showing by FNATIC. Typon's left alone with 10 seconds to play with. It's not really going Fav's way today. It feels a little bit like cohesion's lacking. All right, cool, there's a shot or two coming in. Is it going to be enough to close the round out? Absolutely not. FNATIC making this look like an easy breeze in the park for them today.
Who was it? It was Ace yesterday during the EU Playday. Not yesterday, the day before. I'm losing.
You're doing the same as me. Hey!
Doing the same as you. We used to have Playdays one after the other, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why we're getting a little mixed up. But I want to bring up a point that Ace brought up in the last EU Playday, which was Monday, and it's going to be every Monday if you guys want to catch it as well. He said that sometimes teams don't win a match, it's the other team losing the match. And what he means by that really is that today what you're seeing is probably one of the worst versions of FAV that we've seen in a very long time. I hate to be critical, but this is an awful, awful attacking side of FAV. And it's not that FNATIC are doing anything extraordinary here. They're not winning by winning. They're just winning because the other team is horribly losing at the moment.
You and I were theorizing before the game, Jess. We sat here and said, is this going to be a FAV day or is it going to be a FNATIC day? And we said, CAG last week did really stomp over them. You know, maybe there's something in it today. Maybe we will see FNATIC challenge. They've played here before. You know, FAV did okay. This could be all right for them. We could not be more wrong. This is the worst thing about looking ahead of time, is you just don't know what side of the bed players are going to wake up on. Whatever's going on in FAV in this game, it is looking messy. And for a team that to me was so promising last stage, they were always so close to greatness, but always fell ever so slightly short of the other top 3, top 4 teams. This season's starting to look like a car crash, even just 2 days in.
Well, if you're looking at this round, since the site rotation is completely reset now that FNATIC has won all 3 of their defensive sites, they get to go back to their primary bomb site. That's going to be the top floor for them. And guess what? They're going to repeat exactly the same strategy they did last time, because why fix what ain't broke, Des? I think you just repeat it, rinse and repeat until at some point, if it doesn't work against FAV. But I tell you what, they should know the cam's out there. The moment that you hear a window break, there's a Valkyrie on the other lineup. There's literally going to be 2 spots it's thrown. One out towards the southwest or out towards the west. And you should be able to find them within a mere seconds. The fact that it's still up and working is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Look at this. This is a default spot for a camera.
Who was it on the interview the other day said something about the default cam being left up? Was it Leon in his interview after the game of Vitality?
Yes,
I can't remember.
He
was like, yeah, they pushed into the room and now the default was still up and it's just easy, bro. Like, yeah. These things happen sometimes. It is like, well, if no one's taken charge for it, everyone assumes someone else has dealt with it. And that's why you sometimes get these kind of slip-ups that can really cost you big time, I think. However, for FAV, there are bigger issues at the minute than cameras, I think. Oh my God, is Mag thinking? He's thinking. He wants this. He's even got the ping on. He can run down to the doorway here. He's going to challenge him. No way is he going to challenge him. He's going to challenge it. He goes to the pre-fire, doesn't quite land the shots, it seems, but Typon is still lay there. He wants to go for this again, maybe? No, still playing around. This is unbelievable. Look at that. You can see 4 players. That's all the intel they could ever need.
Stigs, surely can do something. I don't think he will, because if he has the primary shotgun, he's not going to be the right person to do this. Tex with the carbine is the right person with the right weapon. Typon's going to decide to rotate out, and Mag can see that he is repelling. He's asking his teammates to check, confirm, etc. They are watching him, however, and this is where the ping thing might actually be a problem, because if they don't get an exact ping, he misses his first 2 bullets, it's going to be a problem. So here we go, and there's the freebie. He asked his teammates, he got rewarded, and that's what you get for clean intel game such as that.
Alfama did the same as well, doing a little bit of the hot feet dance in there as well. Happy feet time as the bullets come raining through the drone hole, not to connect to kill, but Alfama is doing it time and time again. Last week, it was 2 1v2s that he clutched out for FNATIC to bring them to the state that they were in. Here today, again, they're kind of walking into the end of his barrel at this point and saying, please just shoot me. But my word, is he having a day himself. 7 kills in the game. Stig sat on 6. A massive change compared to what we saw last week when it was all Tex doing the work.
How do you paint a pretty picture of a really big car crash?
You make it pretty by saying that no one was hurt. It was just a really exciting thing that all kids do when they're younger and grab 2 toy cars and slam them together and no one's actually hurt. That's how you make a pretty picture, Jess.
Look, this has not been a pretty picture for me whatsoever. I am trying to think of ways to paint the strategy of FAV on their attack as positive in any way, shape, or form. But I feel like I'm watching 2 different teams mesh together, attempt to play 2 different games at once, as Typon's for some reason on the roof, the other team's trying to push in piano. There's no cohesion. Shouldn't your Zofia be the one spearheading the attack into piano to get rid of the shields with the impacts? Where is the team play? Number 2 on top. Not a surprise, but it's not by far. The margin is just so low there. I don't really know what to say. I'm at loss for words here, Des. And at the end of the day, you don't want to be speaking about one of the top Japanese teams like this.
Fav getting wrecked.
Are you writing this down?
Yeah, Fav getting wrecked. That's really all I can say.
I'm going to judge you on how you wrote wrecked.
R-E-K-T.
You're like 30-something years old. You can't.
I'm a gamer boy. I'm 28. I'm not yet 30.
I'm a gamer boy.
Gamer boy, Jess.
That you're a boomer. Oh, every part of me cringed.
I am glad to be of service. Right, reading. Let's go. Round number 5. Can they correct it? We said at the end of round number 2, we're going to see another full site rotation after this. It was going to require a lot of adaptation out of FAV, when in reality it's FNATIC that adapted. They said, hey, we can make use of some interesting Valkyrie cameras here. We can see 4 of them on cams. We can go for a run out to the doorway and kill someone on the rappel. This is as easy as it gets, and they've made it look a cakewalk so far. They're 4 rounds in. I think it would take a big surprise for them to now lose this away in round number 5. Just cast your eyes down the scoreboard on your right-hand side. 5 rounds in, there are 4 kills on the side of FAV.
They brought an IQ, Des. They did it. They've adapted.
Jess, this is like saying, well, this is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube and you've just managed to match up 2 colours and that's it. You've got so many more twists and turns to still make, and you realise that to fix those later twists and turns, you need to break the first 2. This is putting a bandage over something that's going to be a gaping wound at this point, I think.
Oh, all right. I was just saying that they were sort of stemming the hemorrhage at this point, but you know what? Fav, how about that? Nevertheless, I don't know if I can see the game right now, if I'm lagging out for you, but if you can still hear my voice, that is a positive. We know that Fav are trying to adapt to what they're getting back from FNATIC. It absolutely is. Don't listen to Des. He knows not a lot about the game. They're also using a lot of the intel. Tex is being spotted out. He will get absolutely punished for it. Better intel use, better finding of those cams. I'm telling you what, they're kicking things off. It took them 4 rounds, and that's a little bit too much. But at the end of the day, they're finally looking like this tier 1 team we know they are.
5 kills, 5 rounds. Pog, it's a good start. Can they turn it into any more is a real question. 5 versus 4, you have that numbers advantage, but now you've got to deal with the things that wait for you, like a C4 from Stigs, like the smokes coming out of Alfama. We are 90 seconds in, so it's not like you're in real kind of like panic territory yet, but they still don't have control of the top floor. And really, I think if you've got about 60 seconds, you're not in a bad spot. Would have been a pre-place potentially going over. You thought he was going to miss that, didn't you?
No, I thought the person who had run over it before didn't realise the IQ hadn't spotted it yet, and they were lucky to be alive. For Albay, they do end up getting it, so that's perfect. I think the IQ managed to shoot or spot out at least 6 different gadgets that were absolutely integral to FNATIC's hold here, so they're doing a really good job.
I mean, they've got the control above now. There's still one player. Alfama is upstairs on the smoke of all things as well. Now, this is where it gets risky because your smoke is off-site. You're relying on him later in the round for the smoke to knowledge. Normally, where the push comes in is something like reading doorway. Here, it's a little bit of a different story. You've got Lusty on the upstairs. Think he spots a man, but has no idea that number two is right. And it looks like maybe FNATIC have got a bit too big for their boots in this round, pushing it a little bit too aggressively. We'll open this up for the plant to come through. FAV will thankfully take a round, and dare I say, I'll go back on what I said. That IQ did come to help quite a lot in the round, but you've got to question, why is there an Alfama pushing? Why is the smoke pushing so aggressively on the roam in that case, when again, your biggest power spike comes in those final 30 seconds on the site itself?
Well, considering how thin FNATIC spreads themselves in that particular strategy there, they use a lot of, I guess, they put a lot of importance on those vertical holds, a lot of the vertical holds that they open up, those C4s from below, and then making sure that they play upstairs to have all the power positions they need. It didn't work out for them in the end. It doesn't really matter. What I'm so thankful for, at least in FAV's sort of progression here in this matchup, is that they did adapt. It worked phenomenally for them. I think they would have died to multiple C4s. I think they would have died to cameras they didn't spot out. So that one little change there has done a world of wonders for them. You're jumping into the 6th round here. Do I think FNATIC, stand a very good chance of winning this round? Absolutely, because if they worked out the fact that it was a white push last time, they can adapt to that very quickly. And the IQ's gone for the side of FAV. So not to say that that's going to be a detriment on this side, but if they don't change the way they push, they'll be adapted to very quickly.
Yeah, I think this is, again, one of those where you're looking at the minute-and-a-half mark or so for them to actually have that vertical control and be opening things up below. You've got 6 breaching charges. You've got the sledge, of course, on side as well. You've got frag grenades you can toss down into the high heavens, 4 of those to be precise. This is just screaming to me that they absolutely want this vertical control. So for FNATIC, that question's got to come in of how much can we do on the aggressive roam here? How much time can we waste? How much utility can we draw to keep it away from sight? And with the Clash on side, also keen to see where he chooses to set up. I assume we might see him inside a bakery, but that right now doesn't appear to be the plan. Instead, it's going to be inside of VIP.
I did expect this. I said if FNATIC can adapt to the fact that they usually do a white stairs push and they take VIP very quickly, then if you've got the Clash there, that is going to be awful to go up against. Shin is showing me that he wants to completely repeat what he did last time he pushed over towards VIP. He'll be the one to open up a line of sight for that grenade to come sailing through if he needs it. But at the moment, it looks like they want to do a bit of a split push here. You can see K-Razor, he's got the ace there, sitting back over towards Bakery. Maybe they're just wanting to see what picks they can get first, and then they'll decide what push they want to do. But so far, it definitely looks like they... Oh, you should know. You should know that. You should... No, that's all of them.
And one gets shot off the stairs, even with the smoke.
They're all gone. They're going to have to use the Bakery wall.
Oh, my.
The wall even. Wow.
Oh, my. That was not what you anticipated, because now Stairs can play here so freely. And I was going to say, look at the line of difference in this round for FNATIC compared to what we saw previously. We had things like the Mirror, the Kaid coming out, the Legion. Here, it's a lot more by the looks of it about playing off-site and holding down the extended hold rather than sitting back and letting FAV come to you, because last round they looked comfortable once they got inside the map and could start squaring up for an execute. FNATIC know that playing the disruption game is what really helps them here. They're trying to make stuff work, but they're running everything so far into the utility. K-Race is going to push as the grenades came singing in. Stigs will go down. 5 versus 4, but they have burnt nearly everything here in trying to get control of Bakery.
Well, it doesn't really matter as a whole because they did what we call sort of a half Bakery hold with a line of sight or a rotate out. So the Ash is able to burst that wide open and they will have access to behind grill. This is perfect because the default plan can go down, but they don't have vertical control. So if you have someone like, I don't know, is Tex above or maybe even Lusty, you can put some Deegs above and he can stop the default plan going down. And if they do that, well, there's no possibility for a plant. So FNATIC still have opportunities to deny this. The Clash is still very up and alive. They don't really have much to deal with it. They don't have any concussions anymore. They're all gone. Grenades are gone as well. So really, they don't have much left to deal with anything left.
They have a breaching round, and that's about all they've got going. And of course, 5 breaching actual charges that they haven't used yet, which I thought would have been used on the upstairs. Clearly not the plan. Bakery is going to be their point of ingress here, and the information being fed by Alfama here. He might get himself pincered if he's not careful. Mag finds one. Someone comes in from elsewhere as well. How on earth has he managed to get in there? But he's made it work. Plan was going in. He tries to go for the challenge, but K-Razor on a triple kill, raising hell in the round as Typon finds one. It's a 1 versus 2. Tex with 2 kills to his name. He's got to pull it off. Cannot do it. Fav will somehow save this half, going 4-2 after a catastrophic first 4 rounds.
I am a little bit surprised that they didn't try and go back above. I mean, let's say apart from the fact that there's about 2 spots in grill area where you would plant, and then maybe if you're pushed out by smoke, it would be randomized. It would just not be where you expect it to be. But I do expect that, you know, the FNATIC players would know that there's no one above. They could retake above and then just deny the plant from there. And I'm excited that for FAV at least, they've got a couple of rounds in their pocket, because at the end of the day, you want to see that slow comeback for all the FAV fans out there. They want to see that comeback. So I think maybe it could be like a rogue-esque comeback if they keep things strong, maybe.
I liked our little timeout bar that we had there, production. I don't think I had the right names on there, but I liked it, I think. I'd like it back, please.
Yeah,
always good to it's almost like we can start doing like 30-second talks with Jess and like do a quick 30-second interview with you on broadcast or something. That'd be great. We'll come up with some fun ideas for that, no doubt, over time. We're not doing riddles, medics. No, that one was for Latam. Rest in peace.
No.
Either way, let's look at how the second half plays out here, because in my medic's like, no, please. The way that I think it's playing out here, where FNATIC has struggled is when FAV actually get inside the building and get control of like a springboard or a landing pad. That's when they seem to do quite well. When they can push in, they can pick up kills. FNATIC take a lot of ones that don't go their way. That's where FAV seem to come out on top. But when it's been disruption outside the building or before they even got a chance to set up, that's where FNATIC came out on top. So one to look forward to, I think, next week or the next time these teams play in their next respective games is how those things develop. In the second half, I think that now that FAV have got more control, they're inside the building, they choose where to take engagements. This is going to make things a little bit different. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this swing back quite heavily towards FAV.
As I said, I mean, most of the stats are showing us after Playday 1 that every team on every map is defensive-sided. This is unusual considering the meta change. We have been experiencing a much faster attacking pace. So for the defensive-sidedness to be so strong in a region where that is just usually not the case regardless of the meta, that's interesting. Not sure what's really going on there, and I feel like if a comeback does occur from FAV, then hell yeah, that's what's going on. We're getting a defensive-sided APAC for the first time in a long time. Doesn't really matter for now, however, because for FAV, they get to show us that, well, as they move into this first round, they've got something they could show us. Is that going to be the bathroom mirror? Really popularized by Ravan from Penta, actually, during the CL fighting days. And a mirror went here looking over towards all of the default areas, and then they open up all of the piano couch walls all the way over there. Thank you very much, medics. It takes a long time to set up with the ITA, but once it's done, it is a beautiful angle, a beautiful line of sight that you can get. So make sure you snag that one for your own team, because that is a nice mirror. It can be tough to hold from the South Rappel though.
And although there are no shields on side, I always love it when we see a shield slap down inside a storage that outlooks in towards piano, because you make it impossible to play inside a piano. They can't play up towards the north. The only place they can really comfortably play is inside a cigar shop, and anywhere outside of that is dangerous territory. It really restricts the attackers, but that doesn't appear to be the play given there are no shields on side. As you say, it's more about looking at those default spots inside of bar itself.
Well, you can see Afro featuring all the way down to bottom red. Valkyrie has been a very, very popular pick, but that is not unusual for this map. There's a couple of other maps like Consulate and Coastline where Valkyrie does really, really strongly. I think any Intel operator does really well on most maps. I'm surprised that teams don't keep taking it. With a little bit of teamwork and a little bit of a yellow ping since that change, things can dramatically turn in your favor. But another little bit of addition people aren't really focusing on here. The Surya Gates from Aruni, they are really, really strong, and I'm glad that we're seeing at least finally a Thatcher coming out, but this time from FNATIC. They're not going to get their ace charges caught from a magnet. They're going to make sure that they zoom a little bit of a Thatcher grenade in there first, and here's a camera not caught out.
Oh boy, can they get away with magic? I mean, the calls are coming out, so maybe not now isn't quite the time to go jumping out anywhere. Shin finds text around the map. That's the Thatcher gone as well. Not quite the end of the world. Will mean, of course, that the ADS is going to be slightly more effective, not able to be disabled, and also looking, of course, towards those mute jammers. Got to deal with a couple of these Aruni gates that have been set up as well. The laser gates, as we're taking to calling them here. Maybe still to burn those. You have the option of the DKB with those flashes, but that's really all you're looking towards, I think. Definitely going to form more of an impediment for FNATIC as we get later into this round.
They've just got over 60 seconds left here to make their attack happen. They don't have piano control, and Surya gates are still up and running. No Thatcher to work with, so they're going to have to use other aspects of maybe some flashes. Mag still has 3, so he could feasibly use his. You're looking at that little red silhouette there towards the double door. He's being flashed out aggressively. 2 ADSs to accompany him, a Surya gate, and multiple grenades come zooming through. The fact that number 2 is still alive and still seemingly very confident with his shotgun up on the door. I mean, FNATIC, this is stalling them way too much. They need to get in and deal with him now.
This is 30 seconds left in the round. They've only just started looking at piano and only now just started smoking out the area into freezer. And number 2 can still challenge from inside of Cigar. If he dies here, FNATIC have got to go straight for the push. They're going to walk around and challenge. And number 2 finds Lusty. They get the down, but Afro trades from Pixel. Number 2 isn't even dead. 4 versus 2. 10 seconds to play. No room for mistakes. No room for anything. Alfama and his favorite spot at the top of white. Sadly, on the wrong side of this equation, I feel. A 1 versus 2. He's got to clutch it all the way through. It's not going to happen. Almost gets a shot off, but not quite to be. FAV successfully burned through the time of FNATIC. And I've got to ask Jess, those 3 DKB calls that came out, they were all before they even looked at getting inside the map. They were burnt so early and not really all that effective, to be honest.
Des, I got to cut you off there, brother. I got to cut you off. They almost won.
It's a good thing I finished talking then, isn't it?
Yeah. No, the Alpha almost won that. The other defender was downed.
Oh, of course, number 2, yeah.
Yes, so if he had got that last kill onto the mirror hiding in the corner, oh, my heart was racing as you were play-by-playing that. I thought to myself, oh, God, Alfama's going to do this. He's going to 1v4 the entire FAV roster. Oh, whew. For you guys who missed it, go back, just scrub back a little bit, because when someone is in a DVNO, down but not out situation, they automatically die if the last person dies. So that was ever so close. Not a very confident round win there from FAV, but a round win nonetheless. And for me personally, I'm not sure how I felt about FNATIC's attack, other than you're right, there was some wasted utility usage there, but I'm almost certain they were focused on getting that Cigar player out. That's what they were focused on. It might not have looked like a good use of the utility, but they wanted him to answer his phone. They wanted to work out and isolate exactly where he was for the grenades. Number 2 was just too good on his feet. That's all it came down to.
Did some work in there with Afro swinging around for that second trade as well from Pixel at the time. So did kind of 4 panic stations, I guess, for FNATIC. Fair point on the almost 1 versus 4, but sadly denied by the clock. That tends to happen when you leave things until the final 30 seconds. Let's see, though. FAV are now 1 round away from bringing things back. Something that if you told me was going to happen 3 rounds ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But it's forming into a spot where they are potentially about to pull off a pretty magical comeback. They're bringing on the Kaid here, something that we saw FNATIC bringing along in 1 round, and a straight after thought, you know what? We don't really want to play this more on-site based play. We'd rather get off-site and challenge them, make them uncomfortable on their entry to the building, the thing that we kept on speaking about a little earlier on. Hopefully in this round at least, we see things move a little bit quicker, because the clock is always the enemy for teams that draw things out a little bit too long.
Well, they've been able to get open that piano wall very, very quickly. Surprised that it's not reinforced, considering they've actually chosen mining as their site. It's not the most preferred middle floor site. Actually, a lot of teams much more prefer reading. And you know what Afro prefers? He prefers violence. He's going to take Tex out in a swift movement, a swift run out. Mag does manage to trade on to Typon. I believe that was an attempted double jump out. And as a result, he will get to hack their cams. This is going to be great for Tex, who hasn't had the best of game, but now he can sit on cams, feed intel to absolutely everyone, and they're lucky that there's no Valkyrie cams available there on the side of FAV, because otherwise all of their positions would be given up soon.
It's interesting how hard they've committed to holding this top floor with the Kaid Electroclaw also being used. I mean, admittedly, not too many places you'd want to use it here, but they're saying we don't want you to get this ace open through storage. We want you to be forced to challenge us down Y or to come through bar, because that's where we feel the most confident in having a challenge. It's number 2 up here by himself, though, and utility is singing all around and coming in from the east window. Grenades are singing in, well placed from Stigs. He's going to collect a kill onto number 2, and with that, the top floor is now clear. 1 minute and 10 left to play. Screams, I've got tons of time to make this happen. happen. And now the calls are coming out as they're thinking about moving downstairs a little. I do question again how early these calls are being used in some cases. Top floor, completely agree. It was great for number 2. In this other case, what's it really doing for you? The answer, not a lot.
I'm a little bit confused as to where they want to make their execute happen. I mean, you can see them looking over towards the verticals that were made by the defenders. There's a Kai claw on the hatch, so Alpha can't open it up. And there's a lot of utility still persisting in a lot of the attackers' hands. So you were talking about misuse the other round. I'm talking about lack of use now. And my worry is now that they've realized that they need to actually get into either mining or fireplace to get a plan down, even though they have top floor, it doesn't look good for them whatsoever. So at this stage, unless they run right in behind mining wheel, things are going to look dangerous for the plant.
I mean, it might do, but with the slight numbers advantage they've got, another frag, another smoke on side, it could work something for them. Not quite to be the case, actually, because K-Razor, well, he's gone down, makes the job all that much easier for FNATIC. They are stepping in for it. Mag finds another inside of pillars, and Shin got to do what he can to try and deny the plan. Absolutely can do nothing with the time that he has left on that planter. FNATIC should move themselves up to 5 and 3. No smokes were remaining. And as you rightly kind of guessed how things were setting up there, wheel was absolutely the play. Now they're crawling all around red. They're inside a train. There's someone outside the window. This is one of those sites where it's so hard to get the retake through, especially when there's 2- or 3-way crossfires set up. But FNATIC do indeed confirm it, moves to 5 and 3, and suddenly start thinking, come on guys, this is a struggle, but we know we can get over the finish line.
I think that probably bodes extraordinarily well for a team like FNATIC. If you can pick up the pieces after taking, and it wasn't actually so long to get top floor, I would say they actually took that quite confidently. It was that they didn't really have a point of attack. None of the windows open out on platform were there, and that worried me a little bit because I thought, well, where are you going to plant? Now you have top floor, what are you going to do? You can't get the hatch open because clearly you can't remove the electric claw, so what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And I wonder if that came off the call of Alphamar when he jumped out towards the platform and said, I'm going to pop in through mining window and get a plant down that way. They didn't need to in the end. They probably could have just gone for kills, of course, with the time extended on the diffuser. But nevertheless, that's a team that can collect themselves when times get stressful. I don't think we've really seen that from FAV, especially on attack. So for FNATIC, that bodes really well for them. They're also going to bring an IQ because they're a little bit afraid of number 2's cams, as they should be. And they didn't spot it last time. So I guarantee, when we had that tack time out before, that it's quite possible one of their coaches turned around and said, don't forget your IQ, don't forget your IQ. Things are going to be important here.
Well, here you've also got to deal with the Echo that we haven't seen too much of in APAC. Started to see a bit of a rise for in EU. A couple of teams opted to start bringing it along. Go on, K-Razor, you can do it. You can get rid of that last little bit of wall. But I like how the kind of... Although Echo kind of got changed a lot, everyone was like, oh, they're no longer invisible. This is going to be a major problem for him. Teams are still finding really creative uses. Like, think, for example, of Kayak the other day in their game against Virtus Pro on Consulate. Like, the Echo was pivotal to them being able to prevent the first plant, him getting the closing 1v3 off, and then winning the round. It's still impactful, even when it's visible.
I mean, we're speaking about that, but something that's really underrated when it comes to Echo as an operator is he's got the Supernova, the shotgun. And that's actually what is being run here by K-Razor right now. He's got the bearing as his secondary, which is an awful weapon to control, especially long range. But these are tier 1 players, so I don't doubt that they can hit their shots. But nevertheless, that Supernova, it's mostly used for wall destruction. It won't be technically used to kill unless he has to, of course. But that's an interesting one. I haven't seen a Supernova in a very, very long time. Maybe the last time was on Amaru out of all operators. So that's an interesting addition.
It does mean you haven't got to bring on things like smoke, for example, I guess. And maybe that's where the lean is here. You aren't relying on an alternative site operator, or sorry, anchor operator to be dealing with the kind of site deconstruction, the best way I can describe it. Is it the same on Shin as well, by the way? I think he's also brought one along. Stiggs pushing his way down white. Two of them actually charging down here together. They're looking towards white to go for the push, I think, and it is Shin who's holding close, almost daring them to step up to the hatch or try and breach through this wall, because there will be a shotgun or a C4 waiting in hand, ready to catch someone out.
At that range, I wouldn't be using that particular shotgun to challenge the verticals. It wouldn't be appropriate. You would lose before you win, and a downward and upward angle, it doesn't always work. So I'm glad he didn't challenge it to begin with. I'm also glad to see that they're dealing with this top floor that they were given rather for free very quickly. You said you want to see teams in about the halfway mark. Okay, and a little bit of extra carefulness these days when you don't know what's upstairs on a really big map like Cafe. That's fine by me. For the most part now, however, I'm confident by the way that they've gotten in fast, That was a really big misstep there from, who was that? Afro just crossing over. Hasn't had the best of game here. And a play going down already? Where are the defenders?
Where's the bandit gone is my number one question. He was holding this area earlier. The Echo gets in, does deny it at the very last second, and the run round with the shotgun. It's in, boys. Who cares about range when they're right in front of your face? Does get traded out a second later with Lusty picking it back, but this pesky Echo drone, we spoke about the impact. This round could have already been over if that wasn't dealt with. Tex will find a kill onto number 2. They're still getting vertical angles opened up. There are still 30 seconds to play. It's no doubt going to start making the defenders squirm a little, but you've got FNATIC in a good power position here to recover that diffuser and try and make a play, as long as Typon doesn't catch them inside a bakery. The long angle's there, but he misses the crucial shots. Tex doesn't miss his, picks up Afro, 4 versus 2, and now they can look for the plan. K-Razor, once again, in a big power spot, gets one blast. There's 5 seconds to play with. They don't know. He's trying to blast it out, could surely go for a plant once again. He will go for it, but there's another. We spoke about this, Jess. He's interrupted it again. 3 or 4 plants in a single round, and even with an IQ, FNATIC cannot stop the Echo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, clip that moment right then and there. Not the one back with Kayak, but that one right there, because there was an IQ in play trying to deal with it. We said when the change came in that they weren't going to be invisible. We needed top-tier support players to step up, work out exactly what it was that Echo players could do, and they had to be more creative. They had to be more innovative with where they keep their drones, how they bring them out. They had to be careful. This is a top-tier Echo play, and that is the first time I've been confident in a very long time that the change won't be that detrimental if you have a really good support player behind the drone. That was brilliant.
Hey, Razor, Echo, God. My voice is still recovering from the other day. These players need to stop making me shout so much. Jesus.
I was just saying, oh my God, the voice crack, you really are.
Yeah, honestly, I came on this morning. I said to Hap this morning, I was like, my voice is still recovering from like the last 2 or 3 play days. I keep on saying how good this season has been so far for competitive play. Like every single game has just brought excitement in some way, whether even games where it's a bit of a stomp. And I think back to say Na'Vi versus Train Hard on day 1. Just as a reminder, by the way, here are the interrupts. The first one comes in here. Get rid of that one, I believe, with the Echo. And they're like, yes, but you even see there's a second one behind the bomb. They don't stop it in time. Comes out on the next one and gets the next interrupt at the same time. Beautiful stuff from K-Razor. And you said they're a top tier play. Absolutely. But think about how much time FNATIC had to play with that IQ, and they still couldn't deal with those cameras ahead of time. Unfortunate, but still makes for incredibly exciting gameplay for us to enjoy as the spectators, rather than the players in this game that are either full of dismay or absolute delight at the end of that round.
And there's nothing you can do about those yokai drones. They're underneath indestructible trolleys. So even if you had the verticals and you try to shoot it through the roof, you can't. It's completely safe. I mean, that's brilliant.
Outside of, say, a nade or lying down in front of the trolley, you're screwed, yeah. And you're not about to run into the enemy site and lie down and spray under a trolley at the end of the day, are you?
If you make it that far, then I tell you what, the defenders deserve to lose. I'll give you that much. Nevertheless, we're going to see a Blackbeard come out of mag. He knows how to wield this one. I actually think he runs the holo on this one. If I remember correctly, I'm not entirely sure what he is running on it these days, but he is known to be playing a lot of Blackbeard when he can. And on a map like this with really good window play, you can make that work exponentially. Alphama is going to spot out Afro on the drone. The yellow pings will come out, and they should know he's on this angle so that he shouldn't peek it, but he is instead. And, well, a little bit of a pre-fire will give up the gig there, and all of a sudden, as we're reaching the halfway mark very shortly, not much is going on. It'll be FNATIC to start off the kicker here over towards Piano.
Whenever I see Blackbeard in APAC, I always think of when a team banned Sophia away from Charlotte on C9. Oh, unlucky Afro. Did get some damage onto Mag as well, but not enough to finish him off. But again, yeah, when Sophia was banned away from Charles, got onto the Blackbeard, 9 kills in 3 rounds. Unbelievable that was last season. Just goes to show sometimes you can't ban players out. They're just too good. Why are we running in blind, ladies and gents? Like, you think there'd be a nade following through or someone else looking to trade on an alternative angle? Ran through the gate and ran into number 2, almost if he didn't know that he was there. It was unlucky, I guess, but hey. unlucky big time, because now they're down into a 3 versus 5.
Ooh, read like a book. Tex was like, all right, you can come flying out, but I'm damn ready for you. But Mag, not ready to have his shield bursted through, mind you. Changes have happened recently to Blackbeard. Not as powerful as he used to be. So at the end of the day, Mag, he was probably going to lose that if he didn't shoot first anyway. And now, well, they need to even the number count very, very quickly, as Alpha must seems to hit every single goo mine that's been placed on this entire map.
There's always someone that's drawn to certain gadgets like a magnet. In Hellfammer here against the Legion mines, it's Ace being drawn towards things like the Frost mats. As you'll find, Jess, the more you begin to play with him. 2 versus 4 though, 25 seconds to play. Timing for FNATIC here doesn't look good. We've already seen what happens in a few rounds when it comes down to it. Looks away at the last second, didn't fully check the halfway stair. Gonna fall apart to Typon, and Afro collects the closing kill onto Tex with a trade. It's pretty much textbook from that point forwards, I think, for FAV once they got that huge numbers advantage.
I said, I'm going to call it Caster's Blessing. You know, we usually call it Caster's Curse, but I'm going to call it Caster's Blessing. If Fav win this one, they can come thank me in DMs later for saying that they're going to, you know, employ the rogue effect, the rogue comeback that we saw the other day. That's exactly what Fav's been doing. They're just putting on a bit of a show for us, giving FNATIC what we would call the charitable rounds before they come zooming on in.
Yeah, I mean, as much as in the first 4 rounds, we sat here and said, man, Fav cannot string together an attack. We said, you know, a lot of that's on the disruption coming out of FNATIC before they can even start their attack. The same thing's happening here. Although the jump out wasn't super effective from number 2, it did get him killed. We also had Afro trying to run out of the bottom of White Stairs to pick up Mag on the rappel. They're again just constantly trying to disrupt each other and say, you might come in with a plan, but let's see how you adapt that plan once you go down to a 3 versus 5 inside 60 seconds.
I am just mind blown that we really are seeing a defended side at APAC for the first 2 Playdays so far. I mean, mind you, it's a small sample size. Let's wait until we get at least halfway through the first stage to see how those stats start buffing. But so far, that doesn't make sense to me. In the current meta, that shouldn't make sense. It's not like the attackers should be struggling now with all of these changes. So I'm interested as to what's sort of making this occur. I'm not sure if we have an interview for today's matchup, and maybe we can ask players in other matchups that we do have interviews. But I'm interested, what do you think is making you struggle on attack? What is the area that is most worrying to you? Or is it that defenders are just being so aggressive recently?
Yep. I was just about to say, Jess, it's Run Out City, or Run Out Cafe in this case, but that is absolutely it. Like I keep on saying, if they're disrupting them so early in the round and you can't use that advantage that the attackers now arguably have because you've lost 1 or 2 members early on, it hurts. You don't have enough utility to deal with everything. And speaking of, the Goyo being brought along in this round mean there is going to be a few shields to deal with. I feel like FNATIC are well equipped. They've got grenades, they've got the Ash, they've got the Zofia. They've got a lot of tools to make this work for them, I think. Although really, I guess you're looking across and thinking again, more breaching rounds. It just screams to me vertical control all over the shop. So this top floor take going to be a key one. That means they've got to deal with guys like Shin.
Super extended. I love to see it. It does mean, however, that you need to be careful where you place your roamers. Make sure they're in a bit of a crossfire at the very least so they can trade. See a couple of shotguns as well. And I like what I'm seeing so far. My little bit of worry is that they've opened up that hatch into Piano, and if you lose Piano control early on, it means the attackers get freedom to it. And that's actually where FNATIC struggled last time, was not having that hatch open. Now that it is open, it means Typon can do that, however. And, well, even if the attackers do get to use it later on, that was well worth it. Oh, beautiful.
Nice. Such a tight little angle to get through. Absolutely. But again, we speak about this disruption of attackers. Lusty's dead as soon as he steps foot inside the building. It's the constant early interruption. The C4 play, the disruption game from both teams has been really impressive in this game. I'll give it to both on defense. That is what it has come down to. And now we sit at 5 apiece. Who knows which way these next 2 rounds actually play out. 4 versus 4 and still a minute and 20 to play with. Let's not forget, this is the top floor and our sight is on the 2nd floor. They haven't cleared top floor as quickly as they did last time because at this point in the round, they had full control. I guess that being said, actually, I've already dropped away except for Shin, but FNATIC are nowhere near where they were before when they were starting to look inside a cocktail, get holes opened up downstairs, and start thinking about the attack.
Well, now they finally do have it. I mean, 60 seconds is enough time to do it, especially if you're going to do a reading door plant. They need to deal with that Syria gate, but I mean, they surely have enough utility to deal with it. You can even toss a drone in it. That will deal with it. That's why you can see Alfama going outside. He has the diffuser in hand. Once they have the verticals, he can plant on default and they'll hold it from above right where Mag is. Problem is, we've got that SMG-11 bursting off across the other side of the map, and they need to be ever so careful of number 2 on Brown Stairs. He'll be the disruptive one, but Alfama says, I'm just going to walk on in, boys.
To walk in and try and plant, I guess. Number 2's come up, but the drop. He didn't anticipate it to come down so quick by the looks of it and loses out on that one. Tex also going down. This is a 2 versus 2. If only Typon knew this was the time to push to secure those kills out. It absolutely won't be. But the plant now going down from Alfama. There's got to be a challenge coming out of Typon. He does go for it, but a little bit too late, I feel. It's going to enable this plant to go down. Now it's a confirmed 2 versus 2. Can they hold inside of pillars where both members of FNATIC are? One has pulled back outside. This should be a relatively textbook defense coming out from them, and all the pressure now falls on FAV to get back control of the site, but they've also got to get a defuse. It can't happen. They force the trade. It's a 1 versus 1. You've got about 15 seconds to pull this off, Shin. Otherwise, FNATIC go to match point. The man's not on the diffuser. He's outside to your right. Do you even know? Looks to the right direction. Surely knows. I don't think he does. Maybe even tries to stick this one with about 13 seconds to play. Alfama can just wait. He sees the peak. He sees the arm. He's got a challenge right now. He gets the down, but there's no time. He's a second too short, and that is going to feel bittersweet after he found a triple kill. FNATIC will move up to match point.
Oh, my heart sunk there because Alfama, he was doing the right thing, playing outside. He probably actually could have held an even longer angle. He is using one of the deeper sights that you can use on that particular AK, so he didn't need to hold a short angle there, especially going up such a high fire rate weapon as he was going up against the Rooney there. So, oh, my heart almost broke there for FNATIC because they played that perfectly. Even though they lost the player early on in the ingress, it was up to Alfama to come crouch walking in onto site, get that initial frag onto the only support player there to challenge him, and they get the plant down. Now tell me that Alfama is not looking like the Playday of the APAC region. He looks like he can do everything as a support player. He can frag, he can plant, he can use his utility. He knows how to throw everything in the perfect areas. I'm telling you, he is a quadruple threat, and the fact that FNATIC have picked him up is the ultimate pickup here in the APAC region.
I think it's going to start feeling like 7-5 score lines are going to feel like those cheaty kind of draws that maybe teams encountered in EU most of last year. Because I think it's hard pressed to say that FAV don't deserve at least a point from this. I think a 2-1 point allocation feels kind of fair. Given the first 4 rounds went the way they did for FNATIC, FAV have fought their way back into this spectacularly to bring us up to the final round of regulation. 12 rounds total is what it's going to be required to decide if this goes to overtime or if things are being closed out. Here and now, with FNATIC snatching away all 3 points. And that is the beauty, I think, of the overtime system. If it does come down to it, both teams get something for a commendable effort, but FNATIC, I've got no doubt now, are eyeing up the jugular and saying no. 3 points as this is a new revised roster with Alfama doing what he's doing. We deserve this victory, but again, FAV may feel a little bit cheated given how some of these rounds have gone.
All it takes is one more round for FNATIC and they'll score themselves 3 whole points. They desperately want to do that because 1 point is the difference between taking second, third place on the leaderboard these days. That's how close a lot of these leaderboards can look. So if you're FNATIC right now, you stay cool, calm, collected. You tell the team, all right, let's follow the step-by-step process. We know what to do here. We know what side it is. We can take this comfortably. And it looks like for FAV, at the very least, they know how close they were last round. I'm actually thinking it was an incorrect decision to go back to this side here, Des. If they lose this here and they lose this matchup, I think it's because they decided to go back to the site right after FNATIC knew what they did wrong. I don't think that was the right decision.
They just tied out on the pillar window here as well, looking to get a bit of a push on, open some things up. Alfama now rotating up to the roof once they've got this opened up. So rather than dealing with that wall later in the round, they've actually started with it, EMP'd it, smoked it so it can't be shot off, and got the Selmas on. So later in the round, that's not going to be a big impediment to how they're setting things up. I like it. It's a good early kind of adaptation from FNATIC. We'll see exactly how impactful it is a little bit later on into the round, because now things have reset back to the top floor and worry about clearing that out.
Oh, I love that. K-Razor, beautiful addition to FAV. You can see him rotating the shield towards where they believe the push is going to come from. It means that he can see the breach through the side of the mirror window in that shield, and he can see the default plant spot where it was planted last round. So for me, both teams are adapting here. It's who can out-adapt the other team here on match point, Des. And, well, I tell you what, it's going to be FNATIC kicking off the kills here onto Afro, who's had a pretty bad game so far. Not a huge loss in the frag department for FAV, but a body down is still a body down nonetheless.
Oh, man. I mean, being a body down in round 12, you know now the pressure's building up on FAV, and this is where we see teams start to slip at points when things come down to the wire like this. FNATIC are the ones taking things nice and slow. They're ones playing things out to the real limit, I think, because looking at the time now, 50 seconds remaining, they have got slower and slower every time it has come to clearing this top floor, and arguably aren't in a spot right now to go for a plant. You still got players hanging around white, for example. Players are still on both sides, and only now FNATIC really getting control of Cocktail to start moving these defenders outside of the site, akin to how maybe you'd see inside of Kitchen on Coastline, for example. That's when players then have to step up and play for the retake instead. But we've got to get a move on FNATIC. There's 25 seconds to go. Otherwise, OT is screaming at our door. Alfama with the diffuser. Where is he? Playing outside reading doorway. It looks like he's thinking about it. 15 seconds, Jess. It's got to happen right now. They've got some yellow pings coming through. They know there's a player in the back of sight. They've also got K-Razor in utility to play behind the shield. 5 seconds left. They're rushing sight. They're going for it. They're changing the plan spot, but they forgot about white. It wasn't fully clear. 2 versus 2. They've got to make it happen now. 1v1. Can't quite get the spray to get anything finished off. It looks like FAV are going to force us through to overtime. FNATIC just again a little bit too slow in these dying seconds of a round, forces it through to what is basically a glorified best of 3 to see who walks away the winner.
I was just talking up Alfama for a very, very long time, and the man decides that instead of planting default, when his teammates had top floor control, he would come zooming in and try and plant next to the breach across 3 different lines of sight. It wasn't the play. He can't be perfect all the time, of course, but part of me just absolutely feels gutted that when they go back over that particular round and see exactly what happened, they're going to know that Alfama, if he had just planted, that round could have gone very, very differently. A bit of a shame, but FAV, they played that well. They played super passive until the dying moments, which was what was needed to secure that round.
Oh, that control around white. We said about 2 or 3 players being around fireplace and white as well. They just spring out at the perfect time. Maybe it was the risk they weren't having their flanks covered behind them out towards Brown, for example, and just didn't want to get rushed. I don't know. Whatever the decision was, clearly wasn't quite the right one. I was about to say the white one. Either way, I think with opening up that wall in towards pillars earlier on, I thought, hey, maybe that's why they're going for this plant behind the bookcase. Instead, they've got coverage outside. May have potentially been something in the back of their minds of what if someone comes up Brown and kills us there? I don't know. Lots of things that weighed into that, but ultimately it leaves us where we are. 3 more rounds to determine who walks away the winner. I said in the last round, it feels like both teams deserve something from this game. It will be 2 points to one and 1 point to the other. I think at the end of the day, that feels quite even for how this game has played out.
Well, we did expect some kind of comeback of some kind, and FAV have brought it straight to us. Their first half was, well, nothing short of disappointing, I guess, if I had to slap a word onto it. But they've absolutely redeemed themselves in the second half here. They get to start on defense. This is FNATIC's worst nightmare here. If they were able to start on attack, or rather FNATIC were able to start on defense, then I guarantee FNATIC walks away with the win. But considering FAV is starting on defense, things look a little less decisive now.
Okie dokie. The switch drone actually lurking close. Surely they know. What does what mean, Jess?
Okie, isn't it okie dokie?
Okie dokie, yeah.
You said,
what's wrong with that?
No, you said okie dokie.
Okie, you never heard? Oh, please tell me you've heard of the okie dokie, Jess.
I'm sorry, I'm foreign.
Okie dokie, na 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 okie dokie. Remember? Knees down, hands up, rah, rah, rah. It's a little like kids song that we have in the UK. I'm amazed that you don't have it in Australia. I will show it you and I'll teach you the dance. You'll love it. Your childhood will be reborn.
X for doubt, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. I'm sending it you on YouTube right now. It's by Blacklace. I can't believe you haven't heard of this.
You know what I'd
Watch it once we're done and in the break.
Thank you. I would rather hear what exactly FNATIC are going to do to dismantle this top floor hold. They brought a Twitch along because, well, last time they struggled with these ADSs and struggle no more. But guess what? even if you toss a grenade through that drone hole, no one will be there to receive. They're hiding in the cigar box for the moment. And there's another sneaky player laying down a piano. It's very reminiscent of how we saw FNATIC hold this top floor, but it's a little bit more interchangeable, I think.
I mean, look at number 2. He doesn't care. I think he just yeeted that out the window. Did it connect? So it did connect with the frame. Fair enough. I was going to say he's playing in a spot where he's been playing for so long. But Shin covers him as well. Surely you would have thought for a second that Mag would have collected that. You've got 2 players now hovering around in piano trying to cause trouble. And rather than sitting inside a cigar, number 2 has actually changed his position a bit. A good idea, I think, because they would have anticipated this quite a lot. Now has a shield to play behind as well. Adaptation. Got a shotgun in hand, daring them to step through this doorway because he is ready. But they're rotating out. Out comes the shotgun. It's a 1 blast coming out for number 2. He's going to drop through the hatch and keep himself alive in this one. Good rotate away after finding a kill on the roam.
That was such a brilliant play there. I cannot understate that. I know he's one of your favorite players, but the fact that he just blasted the Ash and then managed to get his escape out was a really perfect rotate out. When you have a man advantage like that, there's no need to get too excited and try and go for more. Just step your way out. I'm going back to side, especially when you're the smoke and you're able to use some of your smoke babes on side. Brilliant play. Really put a thorn in the side of FNATIC here. They do have 1 man advantage, but that doesn't mean it's all over here for FNATIC. They can make a play here, and it looks like possibly they want to do maybe a Skylight plant drop with a little bit of a crossfire over towards heaven. Maybe that's the play.
Maybe. Absolutely looks like it's going to be at least a drop of something in, so this should be the drop in they're looking for. You can hear them rolling out, but both of those smokes are committed in towards arguably the wrong place. In fact, no, the buck came in at the perfect time to go for the contest, but they didn't respect Afro in his position. Picks up 2 kills, Type on the 3rd, and even with those smokes inside of Freezer, it doesn't stop FAV cleaning up. They move to match point and could be the ones walking away with the lion's share of the points if they can take this next round.
I was worried for FNATIC. The moment that we saw that them starting on defense, I thought to myself, oh, that is brilliant for them, really bad for FNATIC. You can look over towards the cams. You can see it weighing on the minds of the FNATIC players. They're going to be talking about exactly what went wrong and what they could do right in this round. I absolutely think this will go to overtime, complete match point, as far as it can go if they can put this round together. And yeah, kill distribution looking good for both teams, almost exactly reminiscent of each other. My problem is now, if FAV can show 1 good attacking round, even in the overtime, that's all that matters. Even if they stuffed up all of their first half of attacking rounds, if they can put 1 on the board here, that is completely all that matters.
All that matters really, Jess, is this literal round that's about to take place on our screen. I mean, arguably, you'd say earlier rounds did matter more because it could have been 3 points for 1 and 0 for the other. But as it shapes up again, 2 points, 1 point is what we're currently fighting over in this final best of 3. In case you guys weren't fully aware of how the system has changed, 3 points for a win in regulation, 2 points for a win in overtime, 1 point for a loss in overtime, 0 points for a loss in regular time. Simple as that. Let's see, though, if FNATIC can revive what we saw from them in the first half, these extended holes that gave a lot of trouble to the side of FAV, or if FAV can finally get their heads together, because we saw in those first 4 rounds how scrappy and how messy it could be. I looked for a second then without full awareness of which team was on what side in this round, so I was just speaking and saw red in bottom right corner of the screen and thought, oh god, K-Race is back on Echo. Thankfully, they're attacking this round, so we're not going to see that trauma taking place again. That might be safe for round 15 if we get there.
Oh, I think we'll see almost the exact same cams coming out of Mag. Maybe a little bit of displacement here and there so they don't get a little bit predictable. He's got the same one outside. They should, by this point, know about this cam. The cam that was absolutely causing them a lot of grief when they were trying to, you know, repel south, when they were looking at the south. You could see Shin looking around now for default, but not looking around for that particular Valkyrie cam. Worries me again, so I hope they don't repeat the same mistakes we saw last time. Nevertheless, I want to see how they fare once they're in the building against this kind of FNATIC setup, because honestly, we've not seen them get in and deal with it yet, and I like this setup from FNATIC, so I want to see it stress tested.
Stress test is probably the right word for it, I think, as well. I mean, will they be stress tested by FAV with how things have gone so far? Maybe not, but you never know what can come out after a few rounds of success for FAV, feeling they're now in the commanding position and not losing round after round after round. Things have kind of shaped up a little bit. Yes, that is an X-Kairos K-Razor you did miss and put it on the, hatch. I love that little like flick of the camera just looking down like, oh, that's there, yes. Not just me. Not just me. Medic's had a choice comment, and thankfully you guys can't hear on broadcast. I have a feeling we've lost Jess, but we'll take that one for now. Typon also being aware potentially of another run out at the bottom of white. Things shaping up again. Not quite to be the case, though. No one's looking to press out on it just yet. So as it stands, a minute and a half in, Fav still squaring up to even look into getting inside the building. Isn't quite as simple as that just yet. It peels because you've got Stigs sat inside a piano, employing the tactics that we saw coming out of Fav on their defense, actually having two people looking to challenge inside a piano itself. Again, keep the aggressors outside the building, make it a real stretch.
I was muted for a second as I laughed, and I forgot to unmute.
Fantastic, Jess.
But I am back. I was saying that you couldn't necessarily get a body through that particular X-Pyro hole, so hopefully they did manage to fix that one up. This is what I criticized them for last time when they were grenading underneath to get rid of that shield, is that they missed a couple of crucial grenades. This time, with 3 Ash charges, you have more than enough redundancy to work with, so they were able to displace it, but it's taken far too long for them to do so. Still repels happening, almost completely up to the 30-second mark or last 30 seconds of the round. That is not how you want to play it. It's only now that they have cigar control, now that they have half of piano control, really, and they haven't really dealt with anything else. No extra lines of sight open. You're down to 20 seconds left. You just got to flood the side.
They're just marching forwards at this point, trying to take what gunfights they can. 3 kills fall the way of Fav. They've took it to a 5 versus 2. It's brought back. It's a 1 versus 3. It's Alfama. And like that, Fav, with no time left, have marched their way to victory. 8 and 6 in overtime. FNATIC going to feel heartbroken after this game started with such a strong 4-0 to kick it off. But Favs show that comebacks can happen, ladies and gents. They bring it back 8 and 6. Take 2 points. FNATIC walk away with 1.
If you had said to me after the first half that Fav would walk away with the win, I would have said you were absolutely lying to me. I don't believe you in any way, shape or form. And the fact that they've just done a miracle reverse sweep here today just goes to show that the competition here in APAC North is a lot stronger than we gave them credit for. We were absolutely bagging Fav to begin with, but I tell you what, that is a beautiful comeback. That's the kind of story you want. You want an underdog story, and we definitely got that here today.
They won their ones, Jess. 3 separate 1v1s happen around the map. At that time in the push-in, it goes down to a 5 versus 2 like that. It was so fast, you blink and you miss it, and suddenly FNATIC are losing the round. We thought it would come down to a bit more intricate of a setup than that, but nope. Sometimes clicking on heads. Who knew? It can win you rounds. Let's go over to the desk and get their thoughts on how this game went down.
Thanks so much, guys. Who would have thought that this would be very